Fratelloni's Hardware and Garden Stores brings you Garage Logic Podcast number 976. December 7th, 2022, a day that will live in infamy. 54 degrees was the record high on this day in 1939, and I looked for December 6, 7, 8, and 9 in 1939 all hold the records, including yesterday when we had our last 60. That was in 1939. And it was 20 below on this day in 1972.
And now, from the mayor's office above the boathouse on the east shore of Spoon Lake, it's Garage Logic with Chris Reavers manning Technology Corner, Kenny Olson from the Krabby Coffee Shop, John Heidt in the newsroom, and of course, the Rookie. Here is your flashlight king, fireworks commissioner, and the keeper of common sense, your mayor, Joe Souchere.
Bill Stein up in Aiken notes today we celebrate another Pearl Harbor Day. We, of course, remember the service of our great friend Paul Filer, a survivor of the attack. Paul left us several years ago, but his lovely wife Val is still with us. Sharp as a tack, although she feels this may be her last Pearl Harbor Day, as she is well into her 90s. Val recently, excuse me.
Perfect health.
Val recently gave me some more of Paul's memorabilia, including a Pearl Harbor Survivors Medallion.
Wow.
Inscribed with the words FDR, a date that will live in infamy. I will always treasure this, along with his bosun's pipe, which I will sound today as has become my custom. It drives the dog nuts, but what the heck. We looked it up. There are now fewer than 100 Pearl Harbor vets still alive.
Wow. That's just unbelievable.
There was a cool piece that Fox News did on a son bringing his dad back to Hawaii. Mm-hmm. Boy, if that doesn't give you the feels, I don't know what will.
And there's 167,000 World War II vets still alive.
Okay.
In your lifetime, you're young enough, there will be no more World War II vets. Isn't that something to think about?
That's really something to ponder.
Yeah. And even in my lifetime, if it's down to 100 Pearl Harbor survivors, I probably will live longer than to see than they will.
Oh, yeah.
Man alive. I wonder if the kids are being taught about Pearl Harbor in school. I'm sure many schools do.
I can attest that my oldest has been taught about that.
Yeah. Are they teaching the kids we deserved it? We had it coming?
Not to my knowledge.
Or that we knew it was coming and we ignored it so we could get into World War II?
I'll be honest. A lot of the questions that my 11-year-old has for me about history and things like that, it's almost a ray of hope. The way that these subjects are being taught,
Good.
At least in my experience, anyway.
Well, you're a little ways away from the country's tallest buildings.
Sure.
Yeah. We have a teacher, as long as we're on that topic, who claims that she doesn't want to teach English. She's an English teacher.
Okay.
I saw this.
But that's teaching kids how to write properly.
Correct.
Is rooted in white supremacy. See, you don't want to do that.
Commas. Periods.
Her name is Marta Schaefer. She's an English teacher at Oroville High School in Northern California. She posted videos to TikTok claiming that white supremacy culture runs deep in public schools. What do I mean by that, Schaefer stated? Well, let's look at how we write essays. Start with an introduction that includes a thesis. Always cite your sources. Use transition words like however and therefore. They are all made-up rules. They're arbitrary. They were created by Westerners in power. And then the rest of the story did not print for me.
Oh.
So that's all I have. But that's another reason why the Academy has failed. Well, in large part, one of the reasons the Academy has failed is that the people, and there are many GL teachers, don't get me wrong, but there are also many of these Marta Schaefers who are crackpots. And what they believe is that anything structured, organized, traditional, or conventional is merely an affectation and it's arbitrary. So we don't know how she would have a kid start an essay.
But
anything would work.
Yeah, what would be an example?
In other words, you can't flunk anything she comes up with because she's a crackpot.
Well, then when she goes to write her, when those kids go to write their letter to get into college, their essay, they're going to be tossed out saying this kid doesn't know how to write.
But how 2022 rich is it that this precious teacher decides to take her frustration out on a platform run by communist China?
Yeah. TikTok.
There's irony
Bleep
there.
TikTok.
There's irony there, huh?
Boy.
Rook, look up the name, please. Look up Marta, Marta Schaefer.
Marta?
Shaffer. Marta Schaefer. I'm sure you'll find some news accounts of her insanity.
Oh, have you not
Is it
seen the
Orville?
accompanying photo and video of this?
No.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, she's.
Oh, yeah.
Does she look like somebody who'd come up with this?
Yeah.
Yeah. She has the world's largest glasses, also.
Oh, she got the big spectacles
Will you
on.
please spell her last name again?
Shaffer. Marta.
I saw this.
White supremacy culture runs deep in public schools.
She almost looks like, John, help me here.
Woody Allen.
No, she almost looks like the third daughter on the Ingalls family. Do you know what I mean? Like she's got that.
I never watched.
Let's,
You didn't watch Little House on the Prairie?
let's not get hung up on what she looks like. I want to know more of what she said.
I was trying to find the video
Let me
here.
see here.
This is taking me a minute. I
This
apologize
is-
if you're offended.
Astonishing tells grammar rooted in white supremacy. Looking for a quote.
It's not important. That the race has been lost. The academy is destroyed.
She
And
combats that BS in her classroom by citing arbitrary grammar and writing rules as examples of rules created by Westerners. She's tenured at Oroville High School. Fighting white supremacy in my class, as per video she posted on a TikTok account. She said the goal was to be inclusive of all kinds of ways we use the language. One of her videos made waves on Twitter after it shared on the platform by the popular conservative. Okay, that's irrelevant. And now her TikTok has gone private.
Okay, but I can tell you the problem with this.
What's the problem?
And this, she's not alone in this belief. She's not alone in the belief that virtually everything is a white construct, and therefore it's arbitrary, capricious, and whimsical, and we're going to undo it. Here's the problem with that. What does that do to the field of medicine, and what does that do to the field of law?
everything across the board, Joe.
Right. It weakens the law by not having a standardized language and structure to follow, and it weakens the pursuit of medicine by saying that you can state what's wrong with somebody any way you want. No, that's not the way it works. You have to be precise, and you have to know things.
Well, and the disservice she's doing to the students.
Yeah. And she's not alone. This is part of the failed academy's
course it is,
dynamic.
yes.
That we're here to right the wrongs of Western civilization.
As an educator, I am constantly worried if I'm the problem. What do I mean by
Yeah,
that?
you are.
She is the
Yep,
problem.
you are.
Public education is an institution that upholds lots of problematic systems in our society, like white supremacy, misogyny, colonization, etc., she said. Well, let's look at how we write essays, where we start with an introduction that includes a thesis, always cite your sources, use transition. Oh, I think you read that already.
Yeah. What's wrong with that, I wonder? Why is that?
These are all made-up rules. They were created by Westerners in power, which
Well,
got me
aren't
thinking.
all rules made up at some point?
By someone. In another post, she reportedly included a prompt that said a student's codes, meaning how they interact with family or friends, were just as important, if not more than important, than an employer's expectations or in how their employee communicates.
Here's the deal. You're not going to succeed in life. You've got no shot.
Nope.
So how
Or-
should an
or-
ordinance be written?
Or, Joe, are you proposing that I'm wrong in saying you've got no shot and that you will have a shot because this is how much we've changed?
No, you won't have a shot in achievement the way we understand it. You'll have a shot in the way achievement is being taught to them, which is meaningless.
They think they're doing good, but they're, in my eyes, and probably all of ours, they're purposely dumbing down everything.
Right, right.
You know what's happening, and I don't know if you guys have seen this movie. It's called Idiocracy.
Idiocracy. Yeah.
Idiocracy. Have you
Yeah.
guys seen that movie?
I have not seen it.
I have.
Oh, I've only
It's-
been recommending you guys watch it
it's-
for about 15 years.
It's coming true.
Yep.
It's absolutely coming true. And basically, in 2006, a fairly dumb guy was put into a coma by the government, and something happened, and he was lost, and he woke up in 2505, and he was the smartest man in the whole wide world, and he was still a dummy. And that's what society is getting to.
They were using Gatorade to grow crops, Joe, because it's got electrolytes.
Well, it wasn't Gatorade, but it was something like
Something.
So this
similar
is
to
fiction.
it. Yeah, it's fiction.
Oh yeah,
but
it's a comedy.
I
It's
get
very
it.
funny.
No, but
very
Joe,
funny.
it's
Satire?
like it's like you
Yes.
and the mystery. It's
Yeah.
coming true.
Yeah.
Mike Judge was way ahead of his time.
How do you say that again?
Idiocracy.
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 But you know what I would love, Miss, what's her name again?
Marta
Schaefer.
Schaefer.
Marta Schaefer. I'd love to have her sit down in a room with Coffee Menska and talk about how to teach
Coffee would
young
just
African
Eat
American
her
kids.
alive.
And this woman would run away bawling. Because think of the disservice she's doing to so many kids in that poor school.
And Coffee could sit back, put her feet up, hands behind the head,
And tell me about suppression. Go right
and
ahead.
just
Yeah.
make her sob.
All right, let's move on because
Monska, Coffee Monska. I mispronounced her last name.
Before we do, she taught at Paradise during. Remember the big fire in Paradise?
Yeah.
She was a teacher there. I was on her Facebook page, and she was talking a lot about the fire.
Maybe Sourdough knows this woman.
I see. That was my first thought. Strangely enough.
Yeah.
These folks, Joe, they assume that whoever created math, language, whatever it may be, the study of fill in the blank, were sitting there rubbing their hands together going, this will further enable the white race, the supremacy control.
Ooh, you're a bad sinister guy.
Years ago, we had a caller, a black guy. Rook, you might remember him. Fairly frequent caller. And sometimes he was with us, sometimes he wasn't. One time he called and said, white people have stolen math from black people. And I wasn't quick enough to say it at the time, but I remember thinking, how do you steal math?
Right,
It's just an idea.
right. 2 plus
Right.
2 is 4.
It's not copyrighted.
Once you do 2 plus 2 is 4, it doesn't mean that the black guy who came up with it can't still say 2 plus 2 is 4.
Right.
Right.
Well, how do you steal it?
It's not like Elvis stealing music
Right.
or the Rolling
Or
Stones.
or Led Zeppelin.
Right.
Right.
That's just outright theft.
Yeah.
Let's turn our matters to the state surplus.
What are we up to now?
Another happy subject.
$17.6 billion.
Well, I thought it was 8. You sure?
Yeah.
It's 6 right there
6.
on
Yep.
the
All right.
paper.
Steve writes, Minnesota's latest budget and economic forecast was announced Tuesday morning, showing a massive $17.6 billion surplus for the state. Tuesday's projection is up from the forecast $9.253 billion surplus back in February. After a deal for how to use some of the massive projected surplus fell apart at the end of this year's legislative session, and the DFL now set to control both chambers of the Minnesota legislature and the governor's office, Governor Walz and DFL leaders will have greater say over how to potentially use the surplus. In the past, Walz has said he supported sending checks to each taxpayer, while Republicans had pushed for permanent tax cuts. Tuesday morning, state Republican leaders issued the following statement on the record budget surplus. Minnesotans are being massively overtaxed, and we should spend most of the next session working to give as much of it back to Minnesotans as possible. Tax hikes of any kind should be a complete non-starter. Families deserve their money back as they continue to deal with the high cost of groceries, home heating bills, and other everyday necessities. Republicans are ready to roll up our sleeves and work with the majorities in the House and Senate to deliver the tax cuts that were promised to Minnesotans, law enforcement funding for help in our communities to strengthen public safety, and more. That was Representative Lisa DeMuth, Republican from Cold Spring, House Minority Leader. David writes, if our state budget surplus is $17.6 billion and divided equally among all tax-paying Minnesotans, everyone would get a check for $6,000. We need to demand tax relief now before every dollar of that goes down the drain. I didn't verify his math, but $6,000 a person if you paid taxes. And Howard is right with me here. It's time. We need to push back, and right now. We as the taxpayers of Minnesota need to organize and fight for our rights not to be plundered by Chairman Walz. If a 17-plus billion surplus isn't enough of a sign that things are out of balance, I don't know what is. Colorado has it figured out. They have legislation called Taxpayers' Bill of Rights. Essentially, it guarantees Colorado citizens that every dime of surplus goes back to the taxpayers. And he linked me to the information on that. But further, we need to organize, start a petition, and get unified in our efforts. This is going to echo something Kenny said earlier this week. The Democrats are counting on our reluctance to raise a stink, our desire for peaceful existence, and our assumption that government acts in our best interests. Our representatives either aren't able or are outnumbered and have no interest in changing things. I'm afraid we need to take things into our own hands. It's time to become community organizers. It's the only way to beat them at their own game. Mm-hmm. He is absolutely correct. For every group called Our Minneapolis Streets, there should be a group of us called Our Minnesota Tax Dollars.
But here's, in theory, that works. But what are you doing today? You're working.
I know, but I'm not working the entire day. I'd be available if there was a community activist meeting at 4:00.
The late afternoon shift.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Reavers and I were talking about this before the show. Where is the outrage? Where is the questioning?
Mike and I talked about this on the Weekly Scramble yesterday, and Mike just basically said, and he's right, he's spot on, the fact that every single person in this state isn't outraged about this tells you everything to know about why we're in this situation to begin with.
They don't know about it.
Well, that's a problem. Why don't they know about it?
They don't care about the news.
Well, but Joe,
they're either struggling to make ends meet, and they don't have time to pay attention, or they simply don't care, or
they're too busy. People are too busy. That's the problem.
I would introduce another notion, and I'm sure GL will be the only place that brings this up. What about the aspect of fraud when you're dealing with $17.6 billion?
Oh, wow, yeah.
We have managed to re-elect the chain of command that's been in charge to fritter away $250 million. What are they going to do with $17.6 billion?
But Joe,
I don't trust any of them.
Governor Walz just yesterday says our state's historic surplus is proof that Minnesota's economy is strong and growing.
No, it's proof that Minnesotans are overtaxed.
One thing is clear.
Thieves.
This is a result of the students, small businesses, and working families whose hard work make our economy one of the most resilient and diverse in the country.
Who is the bad guy in Robin Hood? That's who he sounds like, doesn't he?
I don't trust Walz. I don't think he's bright enough to handle this. I really don't.
Will this issue get resolved before the end of this session?
Probably not. There's too much money at stake.
That means we've got no shot, because once the next session comes in. Everybody
with their hand out is going to, exactly.
They control both sides.
I can't for the life of me, and I'm being very serious. I'm not intending any harm. I don't mean anything uncivil. I don't mean anything against the law, but I can't for the life of me understand why people don't want to get together and just say, we've had enough. We're not paying your tax rates anymore. We're just not doing it.
Well, we don't have a choice.
The government's too big. And here's the other problem with the $17.6 billion, if in fact it is used, and it will be, to create new programs. All right, those programs then need financing in perpetuity.
Yeah, they're there forever at that
All
point.
you've done is expand the size of the government.
That
Rather
means-
than
yeah.
give the $17.6 billion back to those of us who produced it, you are now going to, and I don't trust Walz. Walz will go along with whatever he's told to do. Right. You're going to create new problems, probably eternal life daycare or something. Just pick a problem, a program. And then that has to be funded. So 40 years from now, the poor taxpayer still alive, they're paying for God knows what's going to get created because of the $17.6 billion. So it's never ending.
Right.
The only way it could end is give us back our money. And your expansions will have to come through normal legislative processes that will allow people to vote yes or no. But this is ridiculous. $17.6 billion, the highest surplus ever in the history of the state of Minnesota.
About it.
And you're bragging about this is because you think the economy is resilient? No, you moron. You tax too much.
Such, by 26, 27, it's going to be $8 billion.
What is?
The surplus. DeMuth
26, 27. What are you talking about?
Let's just go back here in this story. Lisa DeMuth, Cold Spring, she's the House Minority Leader, and you got to agree with her. Says she's opened his rebate checks, but we need to stop talking about tax hikes, and we need to give every cent back.
Minnesotans, are you going to just take it if you start reading about tax hikes?
Yeah. We did just about a month ago, Joe. A month ago tomorrow. Remember how we reelected every single freaking person in the state, Joe?
You reelected the chain of command that still hasn't acknowledged thoroughly enough the theft of $250 million of your money.
I think you are now officially on team.
Despondent.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what I was referring to, Joe, and it comes at the end of the story. A more than $8 billion surplus is projected in the 26-27 state budget, and Minnesota's budget reserves now sit at a record $2.8 billion. But budget officials said a mild three-quarter recession is expected to begin now.
This is a good time for me to tell you about Eckberg-Lammers because you don't want to deal with a group of people that would pick you dry. That would be our political class and our judicial class, the courts. You need an estate plan. That's what Eckberg-Lammers does. They've been doing it for more than 70 years. You want to guarantee that your family, upon your passing, is left with a smooth transition and that your belongings, your estate, everything, your property stays out of the hands of the courts. If you don't need an estate plan, think again. Ask anybody, look it up yourself. It's true. I don't care how old you are. You want to keep what you've achieved out of the hands of the courts because they'll just take it. That's not being hyperbole. That's not hyperbole. It will just be taken.
Hyperbole.
Eckberg-Lammers, they'll take care of some family property problems. Transfers of property within the family can often be difficult, and they smooth that out. They're a legal firm. They've been doing this for individuals and businesses for 70 years. We all have stuff. If you don't have a plan in place for your family, the courts will decide for you where that stuff goes. The estate planning team at Eckberg-Lammers can help you make sure your estate will transition smoothly the way you want and the way your family wants. Make an appointment with Eckberg-Lammers and take care of this today. Don't consider your age. Do it today because that estate plan will ride along with you throughout life. Call 651-439-2878 or visit Eckberg-Lammers at eckberglammers.com/will.
The Canopy Group is an insurance agency that is unique by offering 16 carefully selected companies for home and auto insurance. And we're going to throw this holiday analogy at you. Would you be satisfied if the only dessert you could have this season was fruitcake? Not me, I wouldn't. That would be like having one agent representing one company. Meanwhile, your neighbor creates this dessert exchange with 40 family members. It's going to be great. You could have a fun family exchange range with desserts like divinity, peanut brittle, fudge, cutouts, gingerbread, all of that good stuff. At the Canopy Group, we get that it is all about options. That's why our insurance agency offers 16 companies. In addition, we have 40 licensed elves, I think those are agents, working behind the scenes to assure you always to have the best coverage at the best price. Remember, our clients' average saving is over $800 per year. This holiday season, don't get stuck with just the fruitcake. Get options. Call 800-967-3389 or visit thecanopygroup.com today.
Stephen Wright.
Stephen
It was his
Wright,
birthday
yeah.
yesterday.
And now, a man who has never had a relationship with a tree, Joe Souchere.
I'll give you a brand that stirs my soul right down to my very core. Give me one of those Triumph Scramblers or that Steve McQueen edition. Oh my goodness.
That's on or off road.
It's got to be one of the sexiest motorcycles out there. And I know you Beamer folks might be going, nah, I don't know. But both the Beamer drivers, the BMW drivers, the Triumph riders, drivers, whatever you call them, very passionate about their brand. And that's where Moon Motorsports plays in, the longest running BMW motorcycle dealer in the state and the largest volume Triumph dealer in the region. That means you'll be able to find that Scrambler, Kenny. But no matter what your deal is, they're going to have it for you. Both of these brands, class-leading offerings. And, you know, are you a cruiser guy? You like going off-road occasionally? Get over to moonmotorsports.com and check them out. And right now, if you do buy a bike, no payments until after the first of the year and free winter storage or free delivery to your Minnesota location. We're talking Moon Motorsports here, BMW, Triumph, Ducati, KTM, Husqvarna, Yamaha, Honda, Polaris, Can-Am, Skidoo, and apparently I'm the only GL'er on the staff that knows what a gas is. But if you think you're going to climb up the side of a mountain, go get yourself a gas from Moon Motorsports or moonmotorsports.com.
Rook, in honor of Stephen Wright's birthday.
Yeah.
I remember when the candle shop burned down. Everyone stood around singing happy birthday. Spiral light candles.
In a story that's not necessarily unrelated to the surplus, the new Minnesota DFL lawmakers, the ones who just got elected, have taken to social media yesterday to push back against their own leaders, insisting that they will fight to exempt all Social Security income from state taxes once they take office.
Wait, say that again. They will fight to exempt?
They want to continue to tax Social Security.
Oh, they want to kill. I see.
These are people who've never worked. And it will not impress them that this is money people receive that they've already paid taxes on while they were working. It was the first sign of tension among a new DFL Senate majority that will hold the chamber by a single vote come January. A defection by just one member of their caucus could jeopardize the passage of major legislation or give decision-making power to Republicans if they are able to forge a bipartisan coalition. Do you think we have a chance? Do you think there's one DFL'er who will ever vote with the Republicans?
Nope.
Not anymore.
These comments came after Minnesota officials announced the budget surplus. And what we learn is that the Walls people are stopping short of committing to a rollback of Social Security tax and suggested they consider an approach that kept the tax in place for top income earners, because they're the only ones that you might as well punish because they're really paying the brunt of the taxes anyway. I think that if you eliminate the tax on the very wealthy, the very wealthiest in our state, as Governor Walz said, then that has a big impact on our budget, and it has a more limited impact on those individuals, said incoming House Majority Leader Jamie Long, a Minneapolis Democrat. Okay, I'm unfamiliar with him, Rook. Look him up. Jamie Long. Jamie Long.
Oh, okay.
Jamie Long. Both he and incoming Senate Majority Leader Kerry Dietzick of DFL Minneapolis said they and others in their caucuses had qualms about fully eliminating the tax, since it brings in about $500 million a year. They said they'd continue discussing the matter to get a sense of where legislative Democrats stood on the plan.
Here you go.
Yeah,
Minneapolis attorney, BA in political science from Carleton College,
that's a bad sign.
and is Juris Doctor
Yep.
from George Washington University.
He's a lawyer.
Elected in 2018. He's in his third term, married with 2 kids.
Yeah. Well, there's hope for him.
Trying to see any other background. Nothing else. Builds, chief authored, co-authored, district map.
Never mind.
Okay.
Shortly thereafter, a handful of new lawmakers that won tight races around the state took to Twitter to say they'd support a full exemption once they get to St. Paul. I stand by my promise to fight for full elimination of the tax on Social Security benefits, Senator-elect Heather Gustafson, DFL Vadnais Heidt, said. With the result of the budget forecast today, it is clearer than ever that now is the time to relieve Minnesota seniors from the double tax on their Social Security benefits.
Yeah.
Gustafson unseated Republican Senator Roger Chamberlain. Senator-elect Grant Hochschild, a Hermantown Democrat who will represent Senate District 3 in northern Minnesota, is set to sit on the Senate Tax Committee, and he echoed Gustafson's comments. During the past year, one of the top concerns I heard was the double tax on Social Security benefits in Minnesota, he said. I will continue to call for the elimination of the tax on Social Security as my top budget priority. Well, maybe we have a chance.
Yeah.
2 other new legislators, Rob Coopey and Judy Seeberger, retweeted those posts, and Seeberger voiced her support for eliminating the tax in another tweet. And on Wednesday morning, would that be today? Yeah. All 4 joined a joint news release saying they would seek a full exemption. As 4 incoming senators who helped deliver the majority to the DFL, we will be making this our top budget priority going into the legislative session, they said. Now I need them to say that we're too highly taxed in general. I'm pleased to hear that we have some DFL'ers who think we better not tax Social Security anymore. Republicans and Democrats at the Capitol agreed to drop the state income tax on Social Security benefits earlier this year as part of a tax bill, but the proposal failed because they got into some kerfuffles at the end of the session. They didn't get it done. Around the state, several candidates ran on a promise of dropping the tax altogether. As they head into the current upcoming session, Democrats will have to decide how far they'll go in rolling back or striking the tax, and DFL leaders will have to hold their members together when any defection could cause major legislation to fail. Meanwhile, Republican leaders at the Capitol said they'll hold DFL'ers accountable for their pledges on the campaign trail, and they voiced support for a full exemption. I believe that adding that tax elimination on Social Security across the board is what we need to do, House Minority Leader Lisa DeMuth, Republican Cold Springs, said. That's what we talked about on the campaign trail, and I think that's an area that we do need to focus on.
That was, what I read earlier.
Yeah.
Tell me why what works in South Dakota wouldn't work here.
What works in South Dakota?
They do not have an individual income tax. They don't have a corporate income tax. They have a 4.5% state sales tax rate and a max local sales tax rate of 4.5. That means an average combined of 6.4.
Well, my answer off the top of my head is that works in South Dakota because of significantly fewer people who live there, a significantly smaller government, and they haven't been infected yet with a Mysterian movement to expand the size of South Dakota's government.
But I do believe Sioux Falls, and I'm not kidding, is one of the fastest growing cities in the country.
If you make
Thanks, Dan Scott.
if you make $70,000 a year living in South Dakota, you'll be taxed $8,387. Your average rate there 11.98. Your marginal tax rate 22%.
And they also must have the belief that that's enough given the population of our state. We have an ideological force at work in Minnesota where it's never enough. It's just never enough.
Why don't we give the
How much is
17.6 bill to education? Let's just hand it all
That's
over to
about
them.
the annual budget for education.
You could give that to them, and they would still
not
say
enough.
they're underfunded.
It's not enough. And Walls, he's married to his past as a fourth grade social studies teacher or whatever the hell he was.
Socialism teacher.
And he's wedded heavily to the Education Minnesota Union, and they've really got us over a barrel because they've successfully sold the public on the idea that education is not fully funded. Well, A, you don't know what that means, and B, even if you did, you'd come up with a way to say it's never fully funded. Because you're greedy people and you want more and more and more, even though enrollment continues to decline.
Right, Minneapolis is going to be a real pickle.
Nobody wants your failed academy, Education Minnesota, and I'm not demeaning Garage Logic teachers. There are many.
Could this state survive with no personal income tax?
Hell yes.
Well,
But
wasn't
the
that
government would have to spend less,
How much would our taxes on our property go up?
probably considerably.
Yeah,
Well,
and they're
you'd have to-
already fairly outrageous.
You'd
Yeah.
have to pay the ferryman, though. You'd probably have to start to tax clothing at the Mall of America.
That's
and
what I was
stuff
going
like
to say,
that.
clothes and food.
Well, I was telling Joe about a report I saw this morning from Axios Twin Cities and how basically all of the office space in downtown Minneapolis, most of those lease agreements from when COVID hit, because they're 2- and 3-year agreements, are all ending at the end of this month, and how most of them are not renewing because there's no reason to be downtown anymore, and how that tax base, because it was 30% of what they supply for a tax base, is going to basically go away, and that's going to get passed on to the homeowners.
Wouldn't it turn things
In
on its head,
Minneapolis.
though, if GL'ers formed community activist groups?
Right there.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be something?
Right there.
We're working.
And they'd be labeled as Republicans
Right
and
wing,
Right-wing.
extreme.
evil. Yeah, extremists. Yep.
But we've got the template. We can go to school on all the various groups that already exist on the left,
Yeah.
copy their format,
Beat them at their own game.
and beat them at their own game.
Yeah, I agree, Joe.
They get people elected. Why couldn't
You know what?
we?
And every GLer listening right now is nodding his or her head yes, but are any of us doing anything about it?
I'm busy.
You know, we talk a big game.
Yeah, but at some point, it's not going to worth being busy. It's not going to worth being busy.
Yeah, you're right.
For what point?
Well,
It's indentured
I'm
servitude.
as busy now as I was when I was 30. What's the point?
It's indentured servitude with no end in sight.
There's no end in sight.
We'll never get out of it.
All right.
How far away are we from them just taking everything and giving us an allowance?
They take everything.
Yeah, here's your allowance. We've
Hey,
decided.
listen, well, you still got a few bucks in your pocket?
Yeah.
Get to the Home Depot website and get yourself some Gator Magnetics.
Okay.
And next week, Gator Magnetics will be a go in 1,000 Home Depots nationwide.
I'm strongly attracted to that product.
What here? It's a strong magnet. So strong you can't pull it off a
That's
steel
exactly
surface.
what
You
I'm
got to
saying.
flip a little lever
You're making my point.
because it's got multiple poles. You know, you get your North Pole.
Wait,
and
wait, 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 wait.
I'm not going to go into the poles.
Wait a
It's
minute.
patented.
You are so attracted. What have you tested on it? Because I know you. I know you so well.
I was just using the pun that I'm strongly attracted to the product.
I'm saying you were putting all sorts of stuff on it.
It's
Ooh,
a
this'll
storage
hold.
device, GL'ers.
Bricks.
You hang stuff on it. You can also create shelving with it. You can do anything. Go on the website and check out what you can do. Here's the deal. Get everything off your floor. Once you get everything off your floor, you've created neatness. You've created efficiency. And if you don't like the current setup when you hang up your magnets, what do? Move them to the next site. You can keep tinkering until you've got the...
You're accessorizing.
until you get the storage absolutely perfect. Invented by GL'ers, now going nationwide. Great website, GatorMagnetics.com. You can learn a lot from GatorMagnetics.com, YouTube, and what have you. But America's one of America's largest retailers, is going to begin carrying that great product that was introduced right here in Garage Logic not that long ago. It's called Gator Magnetics, and if you haven't gotten a set, here's a chance just in time for Christmas. Really, a really great idea. You can go to HomeDepot.com. They'll get shipped directly to your home or to your nearest Home Depot. I can't tell you enough what a nifty idea this was, and they kept going with their idea, and it's working.
Right. They got over there. You guys are crazy. Nobody's going to buy
They got
magnets.
over the you're nuts hump.
Right.
They got over the hump where if somebody says to them,
D's.
you're nuts.
Right.
They got over that,
D's.
and thankfully did. GatorMagnetics.com.
Kahuna.
Hey, kill that right away.
Hey, how you doing there? Let's keep that show going here. We got this all.
Kill it right away.
All right, let's talk about Kahuna Window Cleaning and Seasonal Services. Now, you missed the boat if you didn't call them to hang up your Christmas lights. They are completely full. They have a full schedule. So let's talk about what else they do. They're going to get you ready for spring. It's not the season yet, but you can sure plan out a time this spring when they can come out and, get that gutter all fixed up, get that roof all cleaned up. Maybe it's the siding, maybe it's the deck, whatever the case may be. They are wonderful. They've got an A-plus rating with the Better Business Bureau, so you can trust them. And the GL'ers that have used them have emailed us back and said they showed up on time, they did a very efficient job. The windows are as clean as ever, and that man can work a squeegee because he was in and out in no time. What does that mean? That means they're professionals. That means they have the proper training. That means when you call 612-888-5248, tell them you're a GL'er so they waive the trip charge, you started the process already. So pick a good time for you this spring or summer, whatever the case may be, and set up an appointment with them. They don't mind that you're really prepping yourself. They want to take those appointments well in advance. Again, 612-888-5248. Tell them that the Rook sent you, KahunaWindowCleaning.com.
Here's a man who spends hours in hardware stores, sifting through the nuts and bolts of life. Joe Souchere.
Oh, here's John Heidt.
Why,
Hey,
thank
John.
you, Joe. Before we get to news and maybe a sports note or two concerning PJ Fleck and some other stuff, let me tug on your coat just for a minute here about Rivertown Medical Center in Stillwater. They are bringing you the news today. And like Dr. Dan says, Rivertown Medical Center is Stillwater's best kept secret. If you're suffering from pain, numbness, tingling in your hands and feet, you could be suffering from peripheral neuropathy. Well, Dr. Dan and Rivertown Medical Center can help you out. Now, your family doctor may have told you you're just going to have to live with it. Not so. Neuropathy is caused by damage to the nerves caused by a lack of blood flow, and that causes the nerves to begin to die off. The regenerative medicine and regenerative cell therapy they use can provide relief from neuropathy as long as you haven't sustained 85% nerve damage. If you want to find out more, and if you want a free neuropathy scan, you can attend a free seminar this Saturday, 10 in the morning at Holiday Inn Express at 5653 Bishop Avenue in Inver Grove Heights. Call 651-661-4311. Leave your name and cell number, and you'll automatically get a text reservation for the seminar. Feel free to bring a friend with you. Let Rivertown Medical Center's responsible pain management help you fight the pain and suffering caused by peripheral neuropathy. Seminar this Saturday morning, 10 o'clock, Holiday Inn Express, 5653 Bishop Avenue in Inver Grove Heights. Call 651-661-4311. Leave your name and cell number, and you'll get a text reservation automatically for that seminar. One sports note before we get to news, just breaking. The Gophers and football coach PJ Fleck this morning have agreed to a new 7-year contract that'll run through the 2029 season.
Jeez, let's not get too far ahead of ourselves here.
The new contract will increase his pay by $1 million every year, so he'll average $6 million. He'll average $6 million a year. The agreement is pending.
Tax the hell out of them.
He's wealthy. Get him.
Flex most recently agreed to a new contract only a little more than a year ago, November 4th, 2021, a deal that averaged $5 million and ran through the 2028 season. So this new deal takes it one more year with the pay raise. In the sixth season with the Gophers, Fleck has a 43-27 overall record and a 26-26 Big Ten mark. In their past three seasons, the Gophers have records of 11-2, 9-4, and 8-4 this year.
Sweet. Maybe now he'll be able to beat Iowa.
A 500 Big Ten coach with a 500 record.
And he is now the state's top paid employee.
Tax the hell out of them.
You know that Coyle signed both Fleck and the Syracuse coach? Mm-hmm. And they'll be facing each other in the vaunted Pinstripe Bowl.
Yeah,
what time do you want to head out? Should we road trip?
Yeah, we got to leave early, I think.
It's on Thursday.
Yeah.
In the news, Minneapolis leaders have approved a 2023 budget for that city. The budget will cost about $1.7 billion as the result of Mayor Fry's proposals and amendments made by councilors. It includes $195 million for the police department, which is about $10 million more than the previous year and $1 million less than what the mayor and new police chief Brian O'Hara had requested. Other items in the budget include a 6.5% property tax increase, funding for affordable housing, and new electric car charging stations. Investments for the behavioral crisis response program also in there, also funding for the new staff positions at the city's attorney's office.
They're going to increase your taxes to make low-income housing possible.
That's correct. Meanwhile, speaking of raising taxes, the St. Paul City Council is expected to take its final vote on their 2023 budget later on today, Wednesday afternoon. Mayor Melvin Carter's proposal totals $782 million. Now, this includes, boy, this is a shame for the people that live in St. Paul, includes a section regarding a 15% hike in property taxes. That would be the largest increase under Carter's tenure.
Did you just say 15?
Yeah,
15.15.
Yeah.
15%.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. That's only 10% plus 5.
The local
Holy crap.
the local hippie tax assessor up here has informed certain landowners that even if you own a property around a lake and you own all of the property around the lake and it's a non-recreational lake and the public can't get to it, your taxes are still going way up.
Wow.
What the hell?
Yeah. This is a guy who, in the 70s where he lived, well, everybody called it the hippie farm.
Wow.
15%,
Joe, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, it does. A median value home, which is, what's a median value now? I didn't look it up. I was going to.
Probably
But
$250.
it would be about $20 monthly. So $240 a year. So that's a median. That's a median.
Good thing we all live in medians, huh?
Yeah.
And not in St. Paul.
The good news, living in Andover here, they're very frugal with their money. I think my taxes are going up $2 a month this year. So my property taxes.
Remember when you
And
thought you were
usually
going to retire someday, Joe?
Why don't you blow it out your...
Yeah, nobody likes a braggart.
Right.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Creep.
On Tuesday, the St. Paul Heritage Preservation Commission voted 8-1 to deny a demolition permit for Burger Moe's to tear down the Justice Ramsey Stonehouse on the restaurant's patio. The owner of Burger Moe's wanted to have the 1852 building torn down due to damage. Some preservationist groups had stepped in to try and stop that. It's one of the oldest houses in the city, is listed on 3 historic registers, including the National Register of Historic Places. Because the Justice Ramsey Stonehouse is a local heritage preservation site, demolition permits have to go to the Heritage Preservation Commission for review and approval. For now, the structure will stay put on Burger Moe's patio.
Rook, do you know Mo?
Yes.
Who is it? Who is he?
Who is Mo Sharif?
Is he across the street too?
Yeah, he's down Woodfire Downtowner and Burger Moe's.
I don't understand for the life of me why he wouldn't turn that into a draw, an attraction, and make it just a little pub.
Like
How
a
much are
little
we
cantina.
talking here?
it's
What are we
out-
talking to renovate it?
Okay.
I can't
It's
imagine that
outside on
much.
the patio. It's pink. It's colored in.
I'm very aware of it.
Yeah, we
but I
know
just
what it
wanted
looks
to
like.
disrepair.
Well,
So,
then fix it.
are any of these preservation organizations going to help him out? Or is he stuck with the whole bill?
He'd probably be stuck with the bill, but I can't imagine that'd be a big deal.
You're talking.
I would think it would be a must-go-to
No,
destination.
This would
don't
be-
think it's going to not be a big deal because those restoration they've got to follow certain
But
patterns.
we couldn't turn this into a private suite, go to Burger Mo's and sit in there so you don't have to deal with the likes of you people.
That's kind of what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd sign up for that.
Yeah.
Do you know Mo?
Yeah.
Hello.
Hey, Mo, what you doing with the Justice House?
Oh, thank you, Chris. That
You're
was
welcome.
wonderful. We talked about this story off
I'm
broadcast
sorry,
yesterday.
John, but I'm surprised
Yeah.
they'll still call it the Ramsey House due to Alexander
Well, it's
Ramsey.
Ramsey, the bad guy.
It's
Yeah.
his brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. They should be demanding it be raised.
Tear that thing down. It's
get outta
racist.
here.
Get
Let's
rid of
go.
all history. My goodness.
The Star Tribune reporting charges have now been filed against 11 people caught trespassing in a Fridley sewer system on Monday night.
What is going on?
Oh, this outrageous Reavers.
It really
No,
does.
I just
very
don't get
outrageous.
it. It's
They're
not-
urban explorers.
It's because you're an old fart. Didn't you ever climb a water tower or go in a cave or sneak into school?
I've
when you
climbed
were-
a water tower.
Yeah, but it's
Middle of the night.
sewage.
Well, is it flowing like a creek down there? Isn't it in pipes? It's in
There
pipes.
is some issues, and we'll address that in the story.
Maybe
If
we
we
should
just
hear the
listen,
story.
John? Yeah, maybe.
Well, what the heck. The suspects, ages 18 to 35, said they were members of a group exploring the tunnels that carry wastewater and contain utility lines beneath the BNSF rail yard and a public works water facility. A resident living near the 4500 block of Northeast Main Street called police after 7 in the evening after seeing 4 people remove a manhole cover and climb into the sewer system. A resident also reported several vehicles parked near his home. Officers showed up, saw 3 suspects come out of the manhole area, according to Fridley police.
Rats.
Officers arrested the suspects at the scene and learned there were still others in the sewer system. One suspect told police he picked up a friend, drove to Fridley to explore the storm sewer. He told police he entered the system on Main Street, walked underneath the rail yard to the Mississippi River, where he climbed out. The mother of another suspect told police her son is autistic and hangs out with people that consider themselves urban explorers, according to the police report. Police found 3 other suspects who, and this is in the report, smelled strongly of sewage.
Oh.
To heighten Chris's
Oh, you're
thing
right,
there.
Reavers. Icky.
They
Did
were
I tell
walking
you
on
my
East.
Mary Divine story off the air or on the air?
That was
I
on
don't
the
know,
air.
but you gave
was
away
on the
too
air,
many
all right.
too many details.
Yeah.
No,
She's suing
it
an
was
attorney.
It was off the air.
I thought it was too. But I know a woman who got in her car one day and got to the bottom of a hill and a manhole cover popped open and a guy crawled out.
Yeah, you did that now without all the addresses and the
Right.
specific
Right.
location.
It was off of Maine, wasn't it?
Right off Maine.
Right off of Maine.
Yeah.
I was thinking as you were saying that, oh, poor Mary. I'm sorry.
The all
She
those
ain't dumb
folks,
enough to live there under her own name.
Okay.
Yeah.
all of the suspects there will. end
Does
up
she
in
go by
court.
Marge?
Yeah.
What's the dumbest thing you did as a youth? Did it come close to that?
There's
As far
too
as
many to count.
as far as trespassing goes?
Oh God.
You ever sneak into your school in the middle of the night and
No.
turn all the desks around to face the wrong way and then sneak back out?
No.
Me neither.
Didn't do that. Yeah. Law enforcement officials are asking for the public's help in identifying suspects involved in a Thanksgiving Day burglary near Belle Plaine. Yesterday, the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension issued an alert asking for the public's help. According to the sheriff's office in Sibley County, the incident happened about 9:15 in the morning in Faxon Township. Authorities learned 4 people pulled up to the home in a black SUV, possibly a Cadillac Escalade, and then entered the home and stole 13 guns, ammunition, a crossbow, other items, and 3 different vehicles: a 2019 Dodge Ram, a 2008 Chrysler 300, and a 2009 Nissan Altima. Authorities said all 3 vehicles were later found and recovered in Minneapolis. Nobody was injured. Authorities say they are still trying to find the suspects, though. The BCA says the group has been identified as a Hispanic group with the names Tony, a man in his mid-40s, Julio, man in his mid-20s with an afro, JR, also known as Aaron Beltran, and his girlfriend JR, who are known to stay at Super 8 motels. They're also looking for a fella named Brandon, who they say is a skinny, tall man who lives with his sister in the Brooklyn Center area.
I thought he was in the White House.
Authorities say the group has possible ties to the Minneapolis area. You are asked to call police if you have any information on all of this.
I told you that I think I've told this story where a bunch of us blew up the mailbox of a house where it was lived in by aspiring professional hockey players who gave chase. and terrified us. And the only escape I could figure was to go into the lake. And so in the middle
Probably
of
a
the
good
night, I'm
plan.
swimming in the dark, way offshore, and I could see these guys on shore. And I was like the Loch Ness Monster. I was kind of
Popping
crawling
your head
along
out.
there.
Did
Yeah.
you have was the banana suit on at
No,
the
I
time?
didn't. Took that off.
He went skinny dipping. He went full on.
One time, about 2 a.m, I was relieving myself off a bridge over the interstate, and wouldn't you know it, a semi happened to drive by, and he pulled over and started shooting. That changed my
I would think that would change your.
I think that's a tad bit of an
Terrible
overreaction
habits, yeah.
from a
It
driver.
was just little number one. I
Yeah.
mean, a little wiper fluid and
Nobody wants to get one done, but to pull a gun on a guy, that's a bit aggressive.
one done.
Yeah,
One done.
yeah.
A handful of oh goodness.
You had it
Idiocracy.
right. John, you had
Idiocracy.
it right.
Did I? Okay. Centenarian survivors of the attack on Pearl Harbor gathering at the scene of the Japanese bombing today to commemorate those who perished 81 years ago. That's fewer than in recent years when a dozen or more traveled to Hawaii from across the country to pay their respects. Part of the decline, of course, reflecting the dwindling number of survivors as they age. The youngest active duty military personnel on December 7th, 1941 would have been about 17, which would make them 98 today. Many of those still alive are at least 100 years old. About 2,400 servicemen killed at Pearl Harbor. That, of course, launched the U.S. into World War II. The USS Arizona alone lost 1,177 sailors and Marines, nearly half the death toll at Pearl Harbor.
100 guys left.
Yeah. Democratic Senator Raphael Warnock defeated Republican Herschel Walker last night in Georgia's Senate runoff election, handing President Biden and the Democratic Party a key win in the Senate. That gives Democrats an outright majority in the Senate after 2 years under a 50-50 divide, with Vice President Kamala Harris casting tie-breaking votes. While that doesn't seem like a large margin, according to the political folks, it means smoother sailing on executive nominees and judges. It means more power for Democrats to issue subpoenas without Republican buy-in, setting up a contrast to the GOP-controlled House's plans to aggressively investigate the Biden administration. And it means that no single member, like Senator Joe Manchin, can make or break the party's agenda.
So oddly enough, Kelsey just sent this email at 1:10. Here's how little the people of Georgia care about the country. Georgia has 7.8 registered voters. There were a total of 3.5 million votes cast. That would mean that Warnock got elected with 23% of the registered voters voting for him. It's pathetic that approximately 55% of the registered voters didn't even vote in general.
Wow.
Apathy.
I don't think that would be much different for the rest of the U.S., though, would it?
No.
I would guess.
Well, that's a good
I would-
point. No, that's a good
50,
point.
close to 50%, I would think.
Is
would
that
be.
apathy on purpose? Is it guys like me saying, what the hell is the point?
No, I think a lot of people, like you said earlier, pay no attention to what's going on. So they just don't vote because they don't know what's going on.
Speaking of current politicians, the president is currently in Phoenix
Yeah.
talking about the chip shortage that we are facing
Yes.
in this country right now.
Fritos?
We'll construct a second fab here in Phoenix to build chips, 3 nano chips, the 3 nano chip. Chips that are 3 nano, and you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. Give me a little dip with
Nano,
that.
I don't know. Investment.
No, I don't know. What?
I don't know what he's trying to
That's-
say.
Mork and
that's-
Mindy.
Yeah.
Doing
Well,
Robin
it's-
Williams?
No.
Nanu,
Hey.
nanu,
It's
nanu.
Reality.
shades of,
What a
it's shades
concept.
of George Bush, isn't it?
No, George Bush was a genius compared to this guy.
With Bush, you always, you were kind of going, where's he going? With Biden, you just know it's going to happen.
Donald Trump's company convicted of tax fraud yesterday for helping executives dodge taxes on extravagant perks like Manhattan apartments and luxury cars. A jury found 2 corporate entities at the Trump Organization guilty on all 17 counts, including charges of conspiracy and falsifying business records. Trump himself was not on trial. The verdict in state court in New York came after about 10 hours of deliberations over 2 days. The company faces a fine of up to $1.6 million, sentencing scheduled for January 13th. The defense did say they will appeal.
You know what he'll say? He'll say, I didn't know I had a company.
How do you go about dodging taxes? I want to learn that one.
Well, apparently you can't.
Can only do it so long. The ride only lasts so long.
Right.
Meanwhile, yesterday, for the second time in as many weeks, Mitch McConnell rebuked Trump over political extremism and said it'll make it even harder for him to regain the presidency in 2024. McConnell criticizing the former president's suggestion that the U.S. Constitution be terminated and he be reinstalled as president, saying anyone who believes that, quote, would have a very hard time being sworn in as president of the U.S. McConnell criticized Trump last week for his dinner with an outspoken white supremacist.
In his 7th term since 1985.
Mitch?
Just go home, you old fart. I don't care whose side you're on.
There was and I don't mean anything political by this, but did you see yesterday when the family of Sicknick, the officer,
Yes.
wouldn't shake the hands of McCarthy and McConnell?
Right.
It wasn't comedic. I don't want to say that, but they both kept doing this.
And Mitch kept sticking his hand out, and he
Yeah,
kept getting
just kept
rebuked
sticking-
every time somebody
And
walked by him.
they gave him the Kenny snub, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, God, it was just bizarre. Just bizarre. Special forces in Germany have arrested 25 people suspected of supporting a domestic terrorism organization that planned to overthrow the government in Germany and form its own state. In early morning raids carried out across the country, special forces officers detained people believed to be members of the group, which prosecutors said had been formed in the past year and was operating on the conviction that Germany is currently ruled by members of the so-called deep state. The prosecutors described the group, which they did not identify as being influenced by the ideologies of the conspiracy group QAnon and a right-wing German conspiracy group called the Reichsbürger, or Citizens.
Are we talking Illuminati, John? Is this Illuminati?
John, what else is on your agenda there? We'll give you a yay or nay.
We got Times Person of the Year.
That's Zelensky.
Yeah, that's easy.
Yep.
Remember he was a TV comedian.
Yes,
I
he
think
was.
we forget that all the time.
What are his pronouns? Does he have
They,
any?
them.
Oh, wait, he's busy fighting a war. He probably doesn't bother with that.
More people die during the holiday season from heart attacks than any time of the year.
Okay.
Did you know that one?
Too much time around family.
Overeating.
The reasons apparently are many, but part of it is because it gets cold here.
Oh, yeah.
But it also happens in warm states, and that's considered because of the stress and because everybody eats and drinks too much.
I
what the
agree.
stress would be.
I agree with Chris. It's mother-in-laws that are killing people.
Wow. Let's see. The police chief in Tampa, Florida, resigned. Did you see that?
So what?
I didn't.
Well,
Over what?
Well, she was in a golf cart the other day, and a cop stopped the golf cart because it wasn't supposed to be there. It didn't have registration, and she did the "Do you know who I am?"
The old.
yeah.
She was in the passenger thing in the golf cart, and she pulled out her police ID badge. She goes, "We can keep this between us, right?" And
What was the crime? The crime was driving a golf cart on the street?
it wasn't registered. Yeah.
The secret to that is you don't actually say anything, but as you're pulling out your ID, you accidentally let your badge slip out so they see it.
That's
And
my
then-
badge because I'm a member.
And then you don't actually have to say anything, and then it's in the hands of the officer that pulled you over.
Golf cart on a
If you haven't seen the video, she comes across as quite smarmy, shall we say.
Well, she deserved the ticket.
Yeah, and she ended up resigning because everybody went nuts about it.
People were
And,
outraged.
people were outraged.
Of course they were.
And that's my final story, Joe. Let's
John,
see,
thank
that's what
you.
I have on my list. You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
That's all I have to say about that.
There are two EcoFun Motorsports locations. Forest Lake on Highway 97, just immediately west of 35 when you get off the freeway, and down in Burnsville on the service road above 35W. And the December sale has prices lower than pre-pandemic. All electric bikes, $200 off. All those scooters that turn urban errands into adventures, $100 to $500 off. Over 100 youth ATVs and dirt bikes in stock, ready to wrap and get under the tree. Free storage until Christmas on all youth products when paid in full. Also the golf carts and the full-size ATVs with plows and winches. Just really fun stuff. It's a really, really two nifty stores. Great service, great apparel, great people. Saw Tim at the town council meeting.
I did too.
Yeah, and 0% interest financing for 1 year on all products in stock. What a great Christmas shopping destination. EcoFun Motorsports in Forest Lake and in Burnsville. And before you go, if you want to apprise yourself of the inventory, go to ecofunmotorsports.com.
Hey, GL'ers, the Garage Logic 1000th podcast auction. Yes, that's a mouthful, but let me say it again. The Garage Logic 1000th podcast auction is going to start December 9th at 12 a.m. and run through December 15th at 8 p.m. 70% off items of the retail value. All you got to do, go to garagelogic.com, enter the keyword auction. Here's a list of some of the items that we're going to have in the Garage Logic 1000th podcast auction. A gas furnace from Air Mechanical, a stealth trailer from Pleasureland RV, a water heater from Air Mechanical, 5-night all-inclusive golf vacation to the Dominican Republic from Escape With Us Vacations, the ultimate yard maintenance package from Tri-State Bobcat, sporting clays and dinner for 4 from Minnesota Horse and Hunt Club, and a $4,000 gift certificate from RF Moeller. How about Fratelloni's gift cards certificates? That's right, $100, $250, $500, $1,000 gift certificate towards a new garage door from my friends at Rise and Shine Garage Door. Again, it doesn't start until December 9th at 12 a.m., but it only runs through December 15th. So you've got a couple of days, but it starts on December 9th. It's the Garage Logic 1000th podcast auction. You can find out more at garagelogic.com. Enter the keyword auction.
Here's a man who spends hours in hardware stores, sifting through the nuts and bolts of life. Joe Souchere.
Stumbled on this question on the internet entirely by accident while looking for one of these. I'm actually looking for an ultrasonic cleaner for carburetors. Anyway, the question
Me too.
Yeah, right. The question I came on is, what can I put in my gas tank to clean my carburetor? The answer, a fuel additive like Seafoam is the easiest means to clean and maintain a carburetor. All you do is add it to your fuel tank a few times a year. That keeps your jets clean of gunk and blockages, also improves your fuel economy. The reason this jumped out to me, GL'ers, is because my shame is still very real. I'm still embarrassed that my willful and joyous neglect of my 30-year-old snowblower, affectionately dubbed the Big Bastard, actually resulted in the float developing a pinhole in it, and it filled up with gas, so the thing wouldn't run right. How did it get a pinhole? Well, moisture. Why was there moisture? Neglect. You don't put these things away without giving it a gulp of Seafoam. Keep things running properly. No matter how new or old those cylinders are, feed it Seafoam on the regular. Be a steward to your cylinders so you won't have to pull the carb years down the road. You can find it everywhere. And keep a can or two in the car, the truck. Keep a can or two in the garage, the shop, so it's always available. A wonderful product in a world of bad gas. Seafoam.
The controversial overhaul of Minnesota's standards for licensing new teachers has been approved. There's 8 new standards of effective practice, which will require for the first time that teacher candidates reflect on their biases, understand systems of oppression, and affirm students' gender identities and sexual orientation. These standards have not been rewritten since 2001. The rewrite had the support of the State Teachers Union and the Association for Teacher Education Colleges, but were strongly opposed by conservatives. A group of House Republicans complained that they would send an understandable signal that only teachers who are politically aligned left of center need apply. Well,
that's the truth.
It's the failed academy.
Yeah.
Following an all-day public hearing on August 25, Administrative Law Judge Jim Mortensen gave himself 3 months to wade through more than 500 comments on the 8 standards and 71 subparts. He found last month that all but 3 of those 71 components were shown to be needed and reasonable. Chief Administrative Law Judge Jenny Starr on Friday largely concurred with Mortensen's findings She disagreed with his approval of one subpart and with his disapproval of another. I'm sorry, she disagreed with the approval of one subpart and the disapproval of another. The three defective components all had the same problem. In each case, they asked teachers to identify gaps in curriculum and make additions to include missing narratives and multiple perspectives, Starr wrote. It is not within the board's teacher licensing authority to address gaps in curricula, she found. Okay. Once these standards are adopted, Minnesota will be leading the way with teacher training on the historical and systemic impact of race and racism on public education, as well as culturally responsive teaching practices. Yelena Bailey, the board's education policy director, said of the board. Okay. Do I really want to? Under learning environments, teachers should foster an environment that ensures students' identities such as race, ethnicity, national origin, language, sex and gender, gender identity, sexual orientation, and physical, developmental, emotional ability, socioeconomic class, and religious beliefs are historically and socially contextualized, affirmed, and incorporated into a learning environment where students are empowered to learn and contribute as their whole selves. The academy is failed.
Yeah. Well, it's our lack of pushing back long ago. Should have started 30, 40 years ago.
Mortensen wrote that many critics complained that the new standards will introduce identity politics into the classroom. That's what it does.
Wow.
To the extent proposed SEP2D addresses student identities, the purpose is to ensure students are not ashamed or effectively excluded from the classroom and learning, Mortensen wrote. This regulation does not require teaching a particular political or religious viewpoint. The acceptance and protection of all individuals is established and protected under our state constitution. Okay.
Well, just that line alone you could do 90 minutes on.
Katrin Wigfall, policy fellow with our friends at the Center of the American Experiment, wrote Monday that the changes politicize teacher training requirements using language that is clearly political and ideological, not academic, from critical race theory and identity politics to gender ideology. Education Minnesota President Denise Specht applauded the ruling, saying the new standards will ensure new teachers receive the training they need to ensure every student can learn from a great educator in a safe, welcoming, and effective public school. Well, the problem is they're not going to be effective. That's the problem.
Okay, Such, let's speculate here. What if there's a youth that disagrees with some of these viewpoints and says so openly and tries to argue his own point? What will happen to that student?
I would suspect that student would be marginalized. That student would be
And isn't that
vilified.
what they're trying to prevent?
Mm-hmm. This is you better follow the company line we're about to spring on you.
Right.
And we're going to have all kinds of classes that will be impossible for you to flunk.
Right.
So it's all BS. It's a shame.
And it will lead to a meaningful career in activism.
You can get a job with our Minneapolis streets.
Yep.
So then the solution is just to find a private school or homeschooling, which we used to laugh at, years and years ago, but now is, in my mind, is brilliant. If you have the time and energy to homeschool, my God, I applaud you.
And you can see how easily it would slip into this kind of ideology that teaching English is based on white supremacy.
And math.
And math.
Geography.
It's just
social studies, everything.
No agency has been more successful in ruining itself than the academy. They've led the way.
And now it's seeping into the everyday lives of the rest of us.
Mm-hmm.
And those universities are scratching their heads, wondering why enrollment is down, and we need a bump from the government to keep things going here.
Downing had a good note about the 15-minute cities. He said, I noticed in the story about the 15-minute city, it was stated that the supposedly progressive advocates dream of a city where children walk to school and residents know their local baker. That sounds like these so-called progressives want us to go back in time to Norman Rockwell's America, or a Leave It to Beaver world, which for decades have been telling us are conservative myths that never really existed. And let's think a little more about all the kids walking to school. Yes, that's what they used to do. Why don't they anymore? Because progressives wanted better racial integration in the schools. So if all the children walk to school again, are they prepared to resegregate the schools? Or are they going to maintain integration by telling all of us which 15-minute zone we can live in?
Ooh.
Downey's a good GL thinker. He's right. Thank God that people at Minneapolis, our streets, can't read, because they would have read about this. They would have read about this 15-minute city zone.
Oh, just wait. It's coming.
Oh, it's inevitable. Only because they come to us all the way.
Before we wrap it up, are any of you guys in a hurry?
No.
What do you make of this guy that the police, St. Paul police, had to shoot the other day, and now he's being celebrated as a hero and a people person?
The first thing I said to Joe when I walked in today.
A wonderful guy, and they're ignoring the 8 felonies and the beatings he laid down on his loved ones. What do you make of this whole story, Such?
A typical entitled reaction. Nothing can happen to him because he's a protected class. He was wanted on a domestic assault warrant.
Right.
And he's got a gun. Don't carry a gun around the cops.
Police
people.
were responding to a 911 call from a female.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that should anger a lot of people was the mayor of St. Paul's reaction to this.
Oh, goodness, I didn't see it. What did he do?
Oh, we got to release the body cams right away.
He instantly
release them.
goes to social media and says, we need to release the body cam footage to please the family, yada, yada, yada.
Well, he's going to miss every opportunity to say the right thing.
The family of all people should know that he was a bad guy. Why are they defending him?
His statement, Kenny.
Because they're hoping for a lawsuit.
I am saddened by the news of tonight's officer-involved shooting, a painful trauma that will impact the family and friends of the deceased, the men and women of our St. Paul Police Department. So right away he goes to the family of the fellow.
Never mind the police officers whose lives are now altered forever, and they're never going to be able to get this out of their brain.
Yeah.
You're not doing your city any help, Melvin.
I keep going back to the most famous example.
UPS
Shortly
store.
after the mayor was elected and the girl was carrying on at the AT&T store, UPS store, or whatever, and misbehaving poorly, and the cops handled it very well. And the first thing Melvin wanted to do was blame the cops when he should have gone to her house and said to her parents, "You're doing a lousy job with this kid." Same thing last night. He's never going to miss an opportunity to do the right thing because he's not capable of it.
He's never going to.
Who's your new police chief over there?
Axel Henry.
I would like to see Axel go on the attack and release the footage along with commentary.
Well, I'm sure the footage will be released, and I don't have any suspicions that the police are in trouble.
It drives me crazy that the cops around this country just sit back and take this abuse from people like Melvin and the likes without giving us the real truth.
Why are these criminals always such, like his mother, God bless her, she's grieving the loss of her son, but she said, he was my protector and he was always so kind. Well, why was he always hitting people?
Yeah, who'd he learn that from?
Only because they come to us all the way from Eden Prairie from the Traveling Lyman's. Tom joined the town council.
Oh, did he? Oh, nice.
And you can read about their stalled travels at worldwidewaftage.com.
Are they finally have to set up camp in Eden Prairie?
Well, that's where they've been for some time now.
I did get I got 3 different emails saying they love the Mpumalanga song. So apparently they agree with you. They'd like to be in Mpumalanga sometimes also.
Yeah. On this day in 1863.
Joe, today is December 7th.
This is one of my favorite this days in history. Richard W. Sears was born in Stewartville, Minnesota. While a railroad freight agent in Redwood Falls, he bought an unclaimed shipment of watches and sold them through the mail at bargain prices. From this mail order idea would develop the A.C. Roebuck and Company, housed on the 7th floor of the Globe building in Minneapolis. Renamed Sears Roebuck and Company, the business would eventually be headquartered in Chicago. So in 1863, you know who Richard W. Sears was?
No.
He was the Amazon guy.
Sure. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
Yes. Jeff Bezos.
He was Jeff Bezos of 1863.
Imagine his shame and how he's rolling over in the grave when he found out that the people that run that company allowed the internet to kill it.
Yeah.
Allowed Amazon to kill it.
And I'm old enough to remember what a big part Sears Roebuck played in America.
Weren't they?
yeah.
There was
You
a
could
story.
buy a house.
To buy a bleeping house.
Wasn't there a story recently that they're in litigation of some type at the Mall of America
Yeah.
Right, because of the space.
because
Well,
of the
they-
lease agreement or
Yeah,
whatever?
Yeah.
One of the highlights of growing up, and I'm sure Joe's about this age too, would be getting the Sears Roebuck catalog at home.
For the
It
lingerie
was
section, huh?
thick. Well,
Oh,
no,
God.
more
No, you have
toys
no
when I was
idea,
a kid,
Reavers.
Chris.
No.
It-
I
this was-
lusted after the, is it Puch, P-U-C-H, or Puck? The Austrian-made motorbikes they sold.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh,
Isn't
I
it
lusted
Pooch?
after them.
I thought it was
Maybe it's
Pooch.
Pooch.
A-
Oh,
and
my God. I just...
Reavers, everything.
That's what I cut out and pinned to my bedroom wall.
Seriously, everything under the sun, and you could look at that thing forever and not
You
get
could.
to the end.
Boats and motors.
And
Still
then
had
the,
Model A and Model T parts.
the in-store experience, and I'm speaking about Sears on Lake in Chicago, and then later at the Mall of America. You walk in the door, you are in the tool section.
Yep.
And the guys and the male kids would peel off. Moms and daughters go upstairs to do, I have no idea what they did up there, but we just stayed in the tool section. And they carried that over to Mall of America. Sears had their own little parking lot there. You walk in, you get your tool, you're out of there in 7 minutes. God, it was a dream come true.
And it all began when this guy
Sold watches.
bought an unclaimed shipment of watches right here in Minnesota.
That's the American dream right there.
Today, of course, he would have violated 3 or 4 ordinances and probably would have been taxed out of his mind to claim the watches.
Evil billionaire is what he would have been now.
On this day in 1864,
December 7th.
the 8th Minnesota Regiment helped defend Murfreesboro, Tennessee from a Confederate attack. Suffering 90 casualties, Murfreesboro had been the scene of the 3rd Minnesota's humiliating surrender 2.5 years earlier. And on this day in 1941,
12-7.
outside of Pearl Harbor, the destroyer Ward, its crew, primarily reservists from St. Paul, attacked and sunk a Japanese midget submarine. The first shots fired on the day of infamy inside the harbor. Minneapolis-born Captain Franklin Van Walkenburg was killed on the bridge of his ship, the USS Arizona. He would be awarded the Medal of Honor by Congress.
I'm sorry to say, Suits, you just made an ableist slur. That is a little person submarine.
Yeah, Joe, come on, get with it.
A very tiny submarine. And on this day in 1863, T. Eugene Thompson, a lawyer who helped draft Minnesota's 1963 revised criminal code, began serving a life sentence in the Minnesota State Prison for hiring a man to kill his wife, Carol, right on Pinehurst Avenue between Fairview and Snelling.
Yep. That was a big, big case.
Big story. My old man probably knew him.
One of Richard Warren Sears' children died as late as 1968.
Really?
Yep. Sylvia Sears Gardner.
Wow. I hope she had a few bucks.
In fact, I think that midget sub said, I'm not happy.
Which one are you?
Thank you.
No, he said, deplane, deplane.
Oh, wow.
Let me see
Too
what
far?
I got for those boys.
Sorry.
Too far?
Let me see what I got. For
What do you got
those.
over there?
I'm trying to think what I got for those.
81 years ago, guys. 81.
I thought we had something.
Did you ever think common sense?
Here you go, guys. Here's
Did you
a
ever-
liner.
No. No.
That's a good one.
No. I don't know where it is.
I think it's this one.
Well, I thought the Krabby Coffee Shop was bad today.
If you would like to be further disappointed with other podcasts, check out PodMN on your smart device. where you have the chance to win daily prizes. Don't forget, sign up for that Garage Logic Town Council, new members, an exciting opportunity to win a Garage Logic stocking hat, Kenny Olson.
As far as the Krabby Coffee Shop that we recorded this morning, I have 2 words: caveat emptor.
It was fine,
Buyer
Kenny.
beware?
Yeah.
It's fine.
You say that after every show.
It was a
Yeah, he says
POS.
Wasn't that bad, folks?
Huh? Yeah. Okay.
Oh, already late for my meeting.
Are we done then?
Yeah.
Are we done?